Welcome back to another quick review. Would you look at that? It's another book review. Haha, let's go. Yay. Whatever. Today we are talking about The Will of the Many by James Islington, book one of Hierarchy. And I had a lot of expectations going into this book. I had heard so many things about, so many people say, like, this is one of the best book ones I've ever read. So many people be like, this is a five-star book. And I went in with very high expectations. I didn't go in with five-star expectations just because while I am easy to satisfy, I'm also easy to disappoint in a lot of ways. I went with high expectations, and my expectations were met. I would say my expectations were met, considering the fact that I got through this book way quicker than I thought I would. Originally, I started this book last Tuesday, so 8 days ago. I finished Royal Assassin last Wednesday, 7 days ago. So the fact that I'm recording this on Wednesday afternoon, is insane to me. The fact that I've gotten through this entire book in like 7 days is wild to me. Which I think just goes to show how much I really enjoyed it. I think the beginning of the book, for me at least, was definitely the weakest part, but it also definitely hooked me. I wasn't really feeling it at first, but there were like little bits and pieces in there that I was like, okay, I can see, I like where this is going, and those bits and pieces that I found are the ones that kind of just are the ones that carried out throughout the entirety of the book, and I loved it. The characters, man, I think that's the biggest thing for me. It's the characters. I really enjoyed all of the characters. Viz is just he's great, man. Viz I think is definitely a stereotypical character in a lot of ways. Um, he is what you would find in a lot of these books. That teenager character that you find in a lot of these books, but he's still great. I think there's still like something to him that makes him so different. Like he's not just that's a good comparison. He's not just another Darrow in a sense, where he's not just a guy that is just after revenge. And I love Darrow. I love Darrow more than I love this. I love Darrow, but a lot of what can be said about Darrow in that first Red Rising book is a guy that is like so revenge focused, whereas I think Viz just has a little more to him, and I think that's kind of why I love him as well. Because I say he's not just Daryl, but he is very much like him. I love that the kind of arc that we take with Viz throughout the entirety of the book, whether it be with Okizor or whatever. However, there's a glossary at the back of the book, and I cannot remember how to pronounce those names for the life of me. Um, his adoptive father, and a lot of the characters that he ends up growing to love, and how that ultimately betrays him in the end. I love how we're not afraid to hold back in regards to killing off characters or letting characters be bad, because that's the whole point, is that everybody in this society is bad, right? Which kind of leads me to my next point in regards to both side characters as well as the world as a whole. Side characters, enjoyed them all. Um, Genuinely enjoyed them all, whether it be the teachers, Amisa, Calidus, like all these characters, I like genuinely enjoyed reading about. Um, I don't think, for me at least, there's a singular character where I was like, man, get them off the screen or get them off the page. Like there's some characters that are like that in other books that I've read over the past year or so. Stormlight has a couple. Red Rising has at least one, right? Even the Farseer trilogy has like one or two that I'm like, I just do not care. But I think this book doesn't have any of those. Each and every one of these characters plays their role well and adds something to the story. I love that. And like I said, you're not supposed to feel bad for them, but the way that Viz evolves as a character, kind of like you evolve with Viz in a sense that you start feeling bad for these characters that you realistically shouldn't feel bad about, which I love. The world and kind of the whatever magic system, the will system, and everything behind it is weird to me. And I think that's just because like I have that thing where I can picture things in my mind. I can see things in my head. um, I can do that. It's just for me when it comes to things that lean a little bit more into like sci-fi-esque territory. I won't say this is sci-fi because it's definitely not. It's weird. It's weird for me. I wouldn't call it full-blown fantasy. I wouldn't call it sci-fi. It's not, it's not Project Hail Mary, it's not Red Rising, but it's not, Stormlight, Lord of the Rings, all the Farsi Realm of the Outer Links. It's not that. So when it comes to but it definitely has those has elements of both. So for this one, I think it was very hard for me to imagine in my head what this world looks like. It's kind of the same way how I feel with Red Rising. It's hard for me to imagine what that world looks like. Project Hail Mary is an outlier, but yeah. But when I go to strictly fantasy, you know, Stormlights, Lord of the Rings, Farseer, whatnot, I'm able to imagine that very well. I couldn't get that for this one. I just could not see it. I think some of that has to do with how things were described. I don't think that everything was described to the best, and I think that's just kind of part of Islington's writing style, as I figured out. Not everything, for me at least, is described the way that I would describe something or the way that I want something described to me, and so everything was a little confused. And that's a me thing. That's not a a bad thing. That's a me thing. And then the will system and how everything works, how the hierarchy itself works, I think is a little bit confusing. And at some point you start to go with it and it starts to just become a little bit natural, but there's a lot there. There is a lot there. And I think that's actually kind of what makes it great is that you just kind of throw on your wind with the wolves. There is a lot there that I just don't understand, but at the same time I get it. It's the same thing with like the ending of the book and everything going on with this like big mystery and whatnot. There's a lot that I don't understand, especially that like last 2 pages of this book. But I that just makes me all the more curious to read The Strength of the Few, which I don't know which one I want to get to. The ending of the book is really good, and it makes me want to read Straight to the Few, but I just have no clue when I'm going to get around to it. I'm not in a rush. It's not one of those cliffhangers that leaves me like, oh yeah, I have to know what's next. It's a really good cliffhanger, but not one that like leads me to be like, oh yeah, I have to go out and buy this immediately. I'm gonna read Assassin's Quest first, which I already started, and a couple other things, but eventually I'll get my way back to the Strength of the Few, and I hope that that book is good because if it's not, I don't know what to do. I really do hope that my biggest hope for that book is that we take the characters from the Academy that we know and apply them to the real world, to whatever in the world is outside of the Academy, whatever role we're doing. We don't just leave them at the Academy. That'd be nice. That'd be great. That's one of the biggest things I love about things like Hunger Games or Red Rising. I'm using those just as an example, not comparing them. It's the fact that they take these characters that you met first and then you know use them outside of once we move past this specific plot, they become important to the story later on outside of the initial setting. I really hope that this does that. I really hope that we see these characters outside of the Academy and what they're doing outside of the Academy and how they contribute to the hierarchy as a whole and the overall plot of the story as a whole. But yeah, Will of the Many is great. I give it a 4.5. It's not perfect in my opinion, but it's still really good. It's one of the best book ones I've read. There with how I feel about Way of Kings. I love that book. I love that book to death. One of the best book ones I've read, and I would highly recommend it. Thank you for watching. See ya. Bye.